Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. I'm Clements here from Ubud, Bali, Indonesia, June 7th, 2022. A world at war with ignorance, evil, and the elevation of the good, the true, and the beautiful. As my mentors and my father specifically, from the school of never giving up regardless. Both my mom and dad were veterans of World War II. He said it got immeasurably dark during those years. And then he would quip, and then you were born. Metaphorically, in reality, life comes out of life. And as my mentor, Robert Chardoff, who's most known for the Rocky movies, along with 39 feature films. We were very close friends for a long time. He attended one of my retreats in the early 1980s. He became a friend, a father, a mentor, a brother. We traveled the world. I introduced him to India and Burma. And the never give up theme became deeply implanted, even more deeply in my heart and soul, through that 3.5-decade-long relationship. He died in 2016, and tomorrow is his anniversary of his passing. I married he and his wife in 1990. It's a short preface to the spirit required today to continually challenge the forces of compromise, collusion, of collapse, of anxiety, of stress, all of which are very natural most of the time. But for me personally, speaking very personally, I'm a fighter. And I believe in entering the complexity, the struggle to the death, whatever is required to face that struggle with dignity, with integrity, with my modicum of courage, moral courage, spiritual courage, existential courage, to keep alive the good, the true, and the beautiful, essentially to keep alive the beauty of freedom. I have traveled the world numerous times over the last 50 years, and specifically in South Asia, where I am now, and in the country of Myanmar, where they're fighting for their lives in a genocide of democracy. And I've interviewed so many dozens, if not hundreds, of former political prisoners who've suffered days and years in the gulags of Myanmar. And how many, so many of them have told me they survived based on attitude, never giving up. No matter how dark it got, those iron bars in front of us were not to incarcerate us, but to incarcerate the dictatorship and those running dogs of totalitarianism. Our freedom was not theirs to take. Attitudinal stealth. And then more elegantly, a feminine-inspired stealth, dignity, the power of human resolve rooted in conscience and integrity and loyalty to the values that give you the stamina to wake up in the day, to put the best thought, speech, and action into dynamic interplay with yourself and everyone you meet. Dignity, to safeguard that personal peace, spiritual self-defense. So welcome to June 7th here in blessed Ubud, Bali, a beautiful sunny day. And let me continue with part 3 of this typical Allen-esque spontaneous riff, rant, scream, hymn, sermon, poetic jazz to the God and the goddess in each of us, and to keep turning back, as our friend Nick Cave says, pushing the sky away, an impossible task, but dignity and conscience and loyalty to courage we refuse to participate in the lie, correct? We're at war today. Spiritual war, kinetic war, economic war, the forces of authoritarianism post-Tiananmen Square have become more embedded. Democracy now is a euphemism for vaguely, thinly veiled authoritarianism. People have asked over the last months to speak more specifically of my own personal practices, my own personal attitudes, how I go about psychological, existential, physical survival, barely. But today I'll share a few points that I use as a reference to my own safeguarding of peace and my own spiritual self-defense. It's a threefold personal formula. One is to whatever complexity that arises, and I use the word complexity here to be synonymous with whatever state of consciousness. Yesterday I spoke about SOMs and SOCs. I'm really down with that acronym. States of mind, SOM, states of consciousness. As my teacher, the late Venerable Sayadaw U Pandita, often talked, states of mind and states of consciousness are known as cetasikas in the Pali language. States of consciousness, mosaics, textures, felt realities, colors within consciousness. To know these colors, to know these felt realities, that's the art of Dharma, that's the art of meditation, that's the art of the yogi. The ability, the feminine inspired ability to enter cognitive textures and to discern and to know the felt meaning of that state of mind. That's meditation and dynamic action. It's not sitting still to be peaceful and calm. It's sitting still to understand through intelligence and mindfulness the nature of the tapestry of the unfolding change. States of mind are the currents, the sea of this change that goes on in and through us all the time, perceived interior and exterior simultaneously at the confluence of the senses. Mind is understood through the senses. States of complexity, write them down, study them, know them. Anger, fear, delusion, and the thousands of nuances that refer back to those three fundamental states that, if unrecognized, are the sources of dukkha, according to the Buddhist teaching, states of conflict that are intrinsic to the psyche, the source, and the mind. The three dimensions of inner beingness: psyche, source, and the dimension, actually, another fourth dimension, is the psychic dimension. The simultaneity of dimensions of consciousness, interiority. Dukkha, or felt kilesa, a very important word for me. People ask me often, what are the languages of my own interiority? Kilesa. How would I put this? It's a Pali Buddhist word that has multiple meanings, but states of mind, states of consciousness that function intrinsically to upset peace, equanimity, tranquility, calm, when they're present within the mind. Anger is a traditional kilesa. It may feel righteous to feel the projection of anger at a projected object of where we perceive violation. Yes, very human. But is it Dharma to continually live in the fusion of a deluded projection and violate in the name of that delusion, called democracy, called freedom, called truth? Look at the wars that go on today in the name of. A Dharma, a yogi, a meditator, sees the state for what it is, right? Let's get passionate about it. Sees the state for what it is. If right now in the world, the leaders of the world, those who have their hands on the nuclear weapons, on the bioweapons, on the long range and short range missiles, the drones, if right there on both sides of the equation, they could see the state of mind that's operative and said no, rather than living in the fusion of the ignorance that says yes, pull, kill, pull, kill, pull, kill, till eventually there's no earth, there's no life, and yet another round in this samsara of death. The death destruction impulse within the psyche is known as the central moha, or the ignorance that's operative in the projection of the kilesa. Anger, when it's decathexed from, we pull back from the projection. Then the yogi, the meditator, if you're a meditator, you know, oh my God, I'm convulsing, I'm quivering in responsible embrace of my own dosa. The dosa, it's a state of mind based on conditions. It's a current within the infinite stream ocean of consciousness. It's not yours, it's not mine, it's not others, it's not God, it's not the Buddhas. It's a fabric within the texture of consciousness. If felt, and wisely felt through mindful intelligence, we safeguard our peace by intercepting the dosa, the anger, the greed, the fear, the worry, the anxiety, the contempt, the self-hatred, the hatred of others, the traumatized narcissism, so embedded in the mind of a sociopath. We'll get into this as days go on. Can there be change? I'm going to look for that. But right now, fundamental states of personal peace, spiritual self-defense. Number one, what is the conflict that's present in mind? And what parami, bear with me here, parami, one of the most beautiful words in the world that I've come across. Parami, again, is a Buddhist psychological term that points to a state of mind, an SOM, or state of consciousness, an SOC, or a C, a Chaitasika, a fabric within consciousness, a felt texture. I try to use language that points us back to the beautiful responsibility of learning to feel states of mind rather than live through the fusion of the ignorant projection of them being born from an outside trigger. That may be true, but a Dharma savant, a yogi, a meditator, a trans-Buddhist wants to feel responsibly the state of mind as it arises within consciousness and knows it for what it is. Super cool. Safeguarding personal peace by being radically responsible for the state of mind as it arises. Interrupt it with the parami. Parami is a state of excellence. Traditionally, there are 10 states of excellence within the paradigm of studying consciousness within the Buddhist paradigm. Generosity, morality, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, determination, loving kindness, equanimity. Got it. Equanimity, loving kindness, determination, truthfulness, patience, energy, wisdom, renunciation, morality, generosity. 10 states of mind known as the paramis. Write them down, look them up online, study their felt reality, make them the basis of our sanity. A generous spirit, a morally dignified mind, a mind that's able to renounce greed, anger, and delusion when it arises through the employment of mindful intelligence. Renunciation, not shaving your head, not becoming celibate alone, or donning the orange robes to become a nun or a monk or a Catholic priest or a nun, whatever, but learning the high Dharma art, the cognitive martial art of renouncing kilesa when it arises through the question, number one, what parami am I neglecting? Bring that parami to the forefront intercept the kilesa with the parami. Choose your parami well. Choose your color. My teachers would often say, you were trained as an artist, Alan, as a young man, and later on. You put your brush in the chosen color, you mix those colors, mix those paramis, generosity with patience and equanimity and moral integrity. What a cool mixture that is. And you put in compassion, kindness, adventure, authenticity, resolve, and look at the mixture of character that we have through the developmental practice of bringing parami to the forefront of presence. Parami to the forefront of presence. Just like we learn a song by memorizing it. Memorizing the application of the paramis as a distinct practice within consciousness. I call it inner Dharma yoga. The development of parami to intercept the dimensions of greed, anger, and delusion, and all of their various nuances. Number one. Two, once we bring in the parami to presence, bringing in the state of mind called beautiful to presence, then a personal practice that I try to do, that I do to the best of my ability, is to, to create a unique artistry, if you will, with the application of that color at the senses. Among my faults, I'm radically compulsive, spontaneous, and indulgent. I just love to enter the feminine field of high sonic, eroticized play. If I had my day, I would write in the morning, do yoga and meditate, and then dose in the feminine inspired dialogue of eroticized Ubuntu, and rest and repeat, and to create sonic, existential, consensual, eroticized art, and leave these little sonic, digital, organic gemstones in our own humble way in the soil of existence for the children, the unborn, to, oh my God, look at this hymn that's coming out of the sediment of the sixth great extinction. Look at the books and the songs that we've been blessed to hear and feel and read, and cinema, the arts and literature. And I go, oh my God, the first thing you want to do when you hear a great song is to tell one of your most treasured allies, and you want to memorize it and you sing it because it plays to the hymn, the artistry, right, of the felt music of your own aesthetic of the parami. Circling back to point 2 here, is shaping the paramis, not just overcoming the kilesa, but shaping the parami, mixing the colors of generosity, of moral integrity, of loyalty, of truthfulness, of wisdom, of energy, of patience, of determination, of loving kindness, equanimity, and all the nuances that you want to bring to your unique palette. And this is where dogma is overcome through the application of novelty. It's very difficult to be authentic on a continual basis. And it's easy to use the word to mimic the status quo of cultural paradigms and call that authentic. But it's really, at times, robotic if you really look at it carefully. So sculpting the aesthetic, if you will, of the parami at the application of presence. And thirdly is to safeguard personal peace, is to pick your battle well. It's one thing to safeguard personal peace, it's another thing altogether to know that we're participating in the evolution of peace, sanctity, and freedom in the world. And so I really look in my life at what are the things that I can do to participate in the transformation of the world for the betterment of living beings and non-human beings simultaneously. That we're here in this paradigm called life, to state the obvious, to participate in the creative evolution of life, and at the same time to, aspire to our highest actualizations, to dream, to employ the magic of wonderment, to take time to live in the radiance of imagination, to give yourself the gift of that dimension of being called the fantasy. The play in that dimension gives so much life to my soul. And so when I use the word pick your battle, I don't mean fight. I mean fight back with heart, with art, with reverence, with holiness, with righteousness, at times with indignation, with satire, with comedy, with liberating humor. What is your particular set of gifts? Planting seeds of hope through flowers and food. If you could see around the amount of plants and flowers that the Balinese treasure as intimate and integral to life with the animals, the birds, the insects. And it's one of the things I like here is that you live in a nature bath. You are oxygenated by the light. And people here, by and large, meet you through the emotionality of the parami of loving kindness. And it's so beautiful to play in that kind of spontaneous, consensual elevation of metta or loving kindness and the grace of that. Not always, but fighting your own battle here is my point. It's not always about conquest and domination, clearly over. It's more in my own fledgling understanding and evolutional understanding of the divine feminine. A very intimate part of my own Dharma practice today is the coercion that becomes more transparent through the smile, that's refusing to participate in the occupation of conditioned domination. I do believe that people, leaders, slaves, the whole dimension of existence in all the various forms, that we're not driven by the I or a self, but by these deeply embedded conditions, if you will, that transcend self and other than self. And we live in this seemingly infinite, multidimensional tapestry of interrelated, intersubjective dynamics of states of mind. The field of consciousness is ineffable. The mystery is beyond the word. And yet we find ourselves, for those who have been touched or awakened either by the poetry of intimacy and sexuality, or trauma and the psychedelic and meditation, we're awakening to consciousness. And we're wanting to understand, how do you play within the field of consciousness to elevate the most luminous qualities of this field? And I'll close here in this second part of safeguarding personal peace and this added dimension of spiritual self-defense. My personal practice, what parami am I neglecting in the presence of conflict, self-generated struggle? And just ask that question, Alan, and develop the skill as you would a dancer, a lover, a mother, a poet, a writer, a cook, a chef, a laborer, whatever vocation, the vocation of cognitive mindful intelligence. It's trans-religious to learn mindful intelligence, spiritual intelligence, beyond religious intelligence. Cognitive discernment of the state of mind and shifting from a negative state, a toxic state, a detrimental state, a intrinsic conflict state, a dukkha state, a suffering state, as good as it feels a lot of the time to live in the toxicity of a conditioned projection of thinking that self-shame is cool. It is cool, it's a condition, but wake up to the artistry of self-respect. Shift into the parami. The 10 paramis: generosity, morality, renunciation, insight and wisdom, energy, patience, determination, truthfulness, loving kindness, equanimity, and you can't exclude self-compassion and compassion for others, and the beautiful undertaking of overcoming the horror of awakening to the evil of the world and go, this is my 2022 Space Odyssey. This is my post-metaverse. I'm going to create on the terms of my paramis and sculpt, point two, the shaping of a life that's good, that's true and beautiful, mortal as it is, constrained by biological instincts and cognitive proclivities. Yes, we're embedded in this stuffness, compelled to behave according to instincts beyond our own control. No one can shut off sleep. No one can shut off food. No one can shut off the various things, the necessities of human interaction. We all need to be touched and to touch. It's inhuman to be separated from physicality, from psychic intimacy. These are instinctually inbuilt to the system, but yet we're waking up to our Dharma artistry. The second point, meet the parami with your own aesthetic. It's so cool to get back into your own unique swag. Whatever it is, it's not doing asana according to Iyengar perfectly. Yes. That's a very militant form of aesthetic. I'm not denigrating it, but there's a unique artistry to your own fallibility, if you will, your own inarticulate speech of the heart, to quote Van Morrison, your own rave to the hidden moon behind the shadow of your own clouds that's breaking through at this very moment. What do you see when you open the window of your soul and look out at the meadow of hope? Drop in beyond the regulation of conformity, the beast of obedience. Authoritarianism wants us to behave according to a lie of an individual or a group or a government's or elite's own inability to feel the intimacy of their own fucking orgasm. They are devoid of the orgasm. What they do is not orgasmic. Orgasm to me means life, liberty, flow, beauty, transcendence, radiance, luminosity. These are feminine and inspired qualities that preceded the concrete of patriarchy. And that concrete operates as a living organism. And here we are. Thirdly, pick your battle. I don't mean kill in the name of. I mean learn the power of restraint and the beauty of your own creative artistry. The way you walk down your street, the way you dress in the morning, the way you wash your face in the mirror of yet another morning, of brushing your teeth and flossing your eyes with wake up. Dose if you need to, meditate if you need to, do yoga if you need to, throw all your clothes away and get a whole new wardrobe if you need to. Why are you waiting to get old to be in a wheelchair, to be in diapers, to be dead. Don't let the pandemic close you in. Release every passion available to you wherever you are. My friends who are in prison, and I'll close here, and many of them now have been rearrested, many of them killed, many of them being tortured. Some will be soon executed. My dear friend Daw San Suu Kyi, Wing Tang, so many others. Zayathon, Ko Jimmy, imprisoned right now. I know these people very, very well, especially Daw San Suu Kyi. I can't imagine what it's to be alone in a prison cell, knowing that you're likely to die there. But I do know her teacher. I do know her in context to our time together. I knew her husband. I knew her children. She has Dharma intelligence. She has aesthetic. She has swag. She has cool. And it's what she called courage is grace under pressure. Grace renewed repeatedly under harsh, unremitting pressure. There's an aesthetic there to picking your battle. And if enough of us cared about those prisoners of conscience around the world, it could be you, Alan. It could be you that's a prisoner of conscience. And what would you want others in the world to do to pick their battle? I can tell you one thing. When I'm suffering, I look for hope through the hand of another. And yes, I'm suffering. And there are good people near me who are loving me and supporting me in the best way that they possibly can. And I'm doing the same for them and others too. And we're in this together. So from my heart to yours, thank you for tuning in. If you're in Bali or you're flying to Bali, July 25th to the 31st, I am offering a 7-day, 6-night World Dharma Silent Healing Retreat, primarily for me, greedy me. I'm inviting 15 people to come, whoever you may be. 5 people have already registered at a beautiful temple in nature here on the island. It's gifted freely. Vegetarian meals, very rustic conditions. Just bring whatever you need to bring to just chill. And we're going to hang together in an ancient temple and meditate and cry and write and heal and touch our traumas, our struggles, and instill radiance in our hearts more and more, together and individually, in this God-willing moment of retreat. It's a gift that I want to give myself. You're invited. Just DM me, email me, find me, and let me know why you want to come, and I'll get back to you. From my heart to yours, thank you for a beautiful day, and hope to see you tomorrow if the Wi-Fi is working here from Bali. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.